No one believed that a single stray dog could freeze an entire highway and change so many lives in one cold night. It was almost midnight when Arif, a tired delivery driver, turned onto the old highway that cut through the edge of the city. He had made his last delivery of the day and was dreaming about getting home, slipping off his shoes, and finally sleeping for a few hours before another long shift. The road was dark and half-covered in a slow rolling fog that made the streetlights look like blurred stars. He switched on the heater, turned up the old radio, and leaned back as his small truck hummed along the empty lane. Just a few miles ahead, near a bend where the streetlight flickered every few seconds, something moved at the edge of the road. Arif leaned forward, squinting. The shape darted forward so quickly that for a second he thought it was just his eyes playing tricks. But then he saw it clearly, a small brown dog, thin, muddy, and alone. It stood right in the middle of the lane, frozen under the broken light. Its eyes glowed like tiny green marbles in his headlights. Arif's heart skipped a beat. He slammed the brakes so hard that the tires screeched, and smoke rose from the wet road behind him. He heard a loud horn. A car slammed its brakes too, but hit the divider with a metal crunch. Another car behind that one tried to swerve and ended up sideways, blocking both lanes. A motorbike rider hit the ground and rolled away, cursing into the cold air. Within moments, the empty highway turned into a blinking mess of red brake lights, loud horns, and angry voices echoing into the night. Arif's hands were shaking on the wheel. He looked ahead, but the dog was gone. He stepped out of his truck, boots sinking into the damp road. People were arguing behind him, some checking their cars, some yelling at each other, blaming someone, anyone, for what just happened. Arif didn't join them. He walked forward, searching the shadows for the animal that had vanished as quickly as it appeared. Just near his front wheel, something small and wet caught the light, a collar, half buried in the shallow rainwater. He picked it up. It was old and cracked, with a thin silver tag hanging by a rusty ring. He turned it over with his thumb. One word was scratched onto the tag in shaky letters: Shadow. Below the name was an address that made him pause. It was not far, just 10 minutes from his own neighborhood. He turned around as the police arrived with flashing lights, taking notes, calming the biker who was limping but alive. Nobody asked him what he was holding. Nobody even noticed. He slipped back into his truck, the collar still wet in his palm. He started the engine, heart still thumping from the near miss. Part of him wanted to throw the old collar out the window and forget about it. But another part, the part that still believed in signs and stories his grandmother told him, made him drive toward the address instead. The fog grew thicker as he left the highway behind and entered the old part of town. Narrow streets, old brick houses with small gardens, iron gates rusted from years of rain. He found the house number easily, a small gate with peeling paint and a dim yellow bulb above the door. He parked, stepped out, and pushed the gate open. It squeaked loud, enough to wake the whole street, but no lights turned on except for the one on the porch. He knocked once. Nothing. He knocked again, a bit louder. After a moment, the door opened just a crack. An old woman, her hair tied in a loose bun, peeked through the gap. Her eyes went from his face to the collar in his hand. She opened the door wider, and for a moment she just stared at the collar, as if it was a ghost. "Where did you find this?" she asked, her voice a whisper that trembled in the cold night. Arif explained everything: the highway, the dog that vanished, the crash that almost took more lives. She listened without blinking. When he finished, she reached out and took the collar from his hand like it was made of glass. "Shadow ran away 2 winters ago," she said, her eyes shining with tears. "He was my grandson's dog, the night we lost him. We lost my boy." 2. She pointed to a faded photo in the hallway just behind her. A small boy hugging the same brown dog on a sunny day. "I always thought Shadow would find his way home," she said softly. Arif didn't know what to say. He looked past her into the dark hallway, half expecting to see the dog waiting there, wagging its tail. But there was nothing. Only silence. The faint hum of streetlights and the soft sound of the old woman crying with the collar pressed to her chest. Arif turned back toward his truck, his mind spinning with too many questions and not enough answers. Behind him, the door closed slowly, but the porch light stayed on, glowing like a tiny star in the mist. On the drive back, every time he looked into his mirror, he thought he saw two small green eyes watching him from the darkness behind. Some say the dog still roams those streets, still waiting to find what he lost that winter night. And no one drives that bend too fast anymore, because some stories never really end.